Middlesex slipped into deeper relegation trouble following a disastrous second day of their LV County Championship match with Somerset in Taunton, where James Hildreth scored big before the visitors collapsed. Hildreth was on 70 as the second morning began, with Somerset on 266 for 5, Peter Trigo resuming his innings on 26. It had been hard work for the home batsman on day one, but now things appear to be all the more easier as Middlesex watched the opportunity of some much needed bowling bonus points slip from their grasp. They had 14 overs in the morning to grab another wicket for another point, but didn't even come close to one. After 110 overs, Somerset had reached a score of 320 for 5, with Hildreth on to 88 and Trigo securing his 50 of 89 balls, courtesy of 3 fours and a single Tim Murtagh over. Trigo's boundary count was now up to 8 overall. This was not going to plan as far as Middlesex were concerned. They were now 13 points ahead of Lancashire near the foot of the First Division table, and the two have to play each other in Manchester next week. This partnership, now well into 3 figures, showed no signs of ending either. After being dropped on 97, Hildreth looked skywards when he finally got to his 100, his first of a somewhat frustrating campaign for the talented batsman. He'd used up 253 balls so far and hit 12 fours, not the kind of innings normally associated with the 30-year-old who should be at the peak of his powers now. The partnership moved past 150 and Somerset were now building a big total to put their opponents under yet more pressure. It's been a long time since Middlesex tasted success in this format, and they were already being completely batted out of this contest by these two. Trigo was livid with himself when he pulled a David Malan half-tracker straight to Owen Morgan, ending his innings on 91 and his stand with Hildreth on 170. But any chance Middlesex may have thought they had of now getting through the rest quickly soon disappeared once Craig Overton was able to clear the rope off Ollie Rayner. We were by now early into the afternoon session and Somerset were batting on and on, Overton riding his luck plenty with a number of edges which brought him boundaries. Hildreth, on the other hand, was now middling plenty. Over the years, he has made some very large contributions with the bat, and his experience was telling him not to miss out now, having got so far and worked so hard to get there. His efforts were paying dividends by this stage of the day. It took him 75 more deliveries to get from his 100 to his 150. He'd now seen off 328 balls in an innings which was becoming one of epic proportions. His boundary count now up to 18 after spending thus far 108 overs in the middle. His side were now closing in on 500, Somerset producing the kind of batting performance that has served the champions Yorkshire so well throughout their successful campaign. Adding to the visiting team's frustrations was a 50 from Overton, his third in a season where he's proved that he is much more than a bowler alone. He appears to have moved well ahead of his twin brother Jamie in the pecking order, when it was the latter making all the headlines a year ago. Craig had used up 78 balls on reaching his latest half-century, while Hildreth moved past 350 deliveries in his innings, his runs coming along comfortably now against what had become an understandably flat and exhausted Middlesex attack. This pair took their partnership to 144 in 30 overs. Finally, Joe Denley broke through as Overton was LBW for 63, the total now up to 517 for 7. Hildreth was also on his way after batting for more than 7.5 hours for his 182, an edged reverse paddle at last bringing about his downfall. Tim Groeneval's debut championship innings for Somerset lasted only 9 balls. He then holed out to Milan off Denley, and with that Marcus Trescothick declared at tea with his side on 523 for 9. So often, after being out in the field for 5 sessions, 159 overs in this case, batting is not easy and Middlesex was soon in a mess. Chris Rogers was out to Trigo's fourth ball to be quickly followed back to the pavilion by Sam Robson, who nicked off to Alfonso Thomas. It was 11 for 3 in the fourth over after Trigo trapped Milan in front for 1. The same score made by Denley, who edged Thomas behind to leave the visitors with a mountain to climb with no crampons on 11 for 4. Middlesex now had to dig deep, with a lot now on the shoulders of Morgan, who had to stop a pumped-up Somerset attack. The home side's batsmen had done their job, and now the bowlers were taking full advantage. It was 56 for 5 when Neil Dexter, having got to 14, edged a cut off Jack Leach behind. And 56 for 6 3 balls later, as John Simpson inexplicably swept the spinner straight to Overton at deep backward square before he'd scored. If a follow-on is forthcoming on day 3, Somerset may have to do it without Overton, who pulled up at the point of delivery here to have his over completed by Johan Myberg, who then ripped one through to bowl Rayner for a duck with his second ball. Only 3 runs came off the remaining 7 overs, but Middlesex, a side which must be lacking in confidence right now, have it all to do to save this match from here. They will go again on the third morning on 64 for 7, Morgan still there on 36, and that leaves them a massive 459 runs behind and facing a possible horrible defeat, one that will give Lancashire plenty of hope of staying up at Middlesex's expense.